The silence that froze a palace. The palace had known emergencies before. Fire drills, security alerts, even political threats. But nothing had ever felt like this. Because emergencies usually came with noise.
It's a bit better.
Today came with
Good.
silence.
Just relax.
The medical
Okay,
lights
thank
above
you.
Princess Charlotte hummed softly, a steady, clinical sound that filled the room but somehow made everything feel emptier. She lay still on the bed. Not unconscious. Not asleep. Just still. Her eyes were open, fixed on a spot on the ceiling like she was watching something no one else could see. The nurse adjusted the blanket. No reaction. A doctor called her name gently. No reaction. Another nurse checked her pulse.
Your Majesty,
Steady.
the delegation is
Normal.
prepared.
Everything
Very
about her
well.
body said
Proceed.
she was safe.
Schedule is confirmed.
Everything about
are
her
ready.
eyes said something was very wrong. Outside the room, Sergeant Elias Farron stood like stone. Royal Guard. 15 years of service. 3 international security commendations. 0 recorded emotional responses while on
okay,
duty.
sweetie. I'm right
But
here
right
with
now,
you.
his jaw was
I'm
locked tighter
scared.
than protocol
I know,
required.
You're doing great.
Because he had seen injured people
The anomaly
before.
should be in the next
He had
sector.
seen
Stay
frightened
sharp.
people before.
Copy. Lights
But
ahead.
he had
Could
never
be
seen
them.
a child
Proceed with
look
caution.
empty. Not
You know
scared.
why you're here.
Not crying.
I don't. This
Not
is a
even
mistake.
confused.
Your cooperation
Just
is
silent.
mandatory. Please,
And
I don't know.
silence, in a child, was never normal. Sergeant, the senior physician said quietly, "She is medically stable." Farron nodded once. "Is she responsive?" "Yes. Reflexes are normal."
I'm
"Is she
right here
speaking?"
with you.
The doctor hesitated. "No."
Just breathe. You're
Farron
doing
inhaled
great.
slowly.
It hurts.
Then he turned toward the wall and slammed his fist against the hidden safeguard panel. The sound echoed. Then came the locks. Steel doors sliding into place. Access systems disabling. Internal elevators freezing
There you go,
mid-travel.
all tucked in.
Communication
Thank you.
rerouting to
Of
security
course, gotta
channels
get some
only.
rest now.
Across the West Wing, staff badges flashed red. In 11 seconds, an entire royal section became a sealed fortress. Gasps whispered through corridors.
It's a lovely day
What's
for a
happening?
walk.
Is it a
Yes,
threat?
it is.
Is it a drill? No announcements came. Because this wasn't public protocol. This was child protection protocol. Level 3.
That's beautiful.
Inside the
sweetheart.
medical suite,
Thanks,
Charlotte's
Daddy.
fingers
Keep
twitched
going.
once.
You're doing great.
A nurse leaned closer. "She's reacting to
you.
sound," she
It is my
whispered.
honor to serve.
"Or memory,"
Your
the doctor
loyalty is a rare
replied.
gift.
Farron stood outside the glass
Threat
watching.
level is escalating.
Not
We
like
need
a
to
guard
reroute
watching a
assets now.
patient.
Agreed.
Like a soldier watching a battlefield after smoke cleared. Looking for what couldn't be seen. His earpiece crackled. All corridors sealed. Personnel accounted for except 4 support staff currently being located. "Continue sweep," Farron said calmly. Another voice. "Queen Camilla is requesting entry." Denied. "She's already approaching." Redirect. Footsteps echoed minutes later. Sure. Fast. Confident. Queen Camilla appeared at the security barrier, flanked by 2 aides. Her expression wasn't fear. It was irritation. "What is the meaning of this lockdown?" The junior officer straightened. "Emergency safeguarding protocol, Your Majesty." "Against what?" He didn't answer. Because he wasn't authorized to. And because Farron was already walking toward them. He stopped exactly 2 meters away. "Your Majesty." "Sergeant," she said coldly. "You sealed an entire wing without authorization. Under Directive 9.3, Emergency Protection of Royal Minors. That is for confirmed threats." Farron met her gaze evenly. Nonverbal trauma in a protected minor is treated as confirmed risk until proven otherwise. Silence stretched. Staff nearby pretended not to listen. But every ear was tuned to this conversation. "I want access to Charlotte," Camilla said. "Not until medical and psychological clearance. I am family. And I am responsible for her safety." For a moment, power hung in the air like lightning. Then Farron turned away. Tapped his earpiece. "Seal secondary perimeter. No building exits without clearance." Across the palace, more locks engaged. Camilla's expression shifted. Not fear. Not anger. Something else. Something like realization. For the first time in years. The palace wasn't listening to her first. It was listening to procedure. Inside the medical room, Charlotte blinked slowly. A nurse whispered, "Charlotte? Can you hear me?" No answer. But her
How's the
eyes
pain
moved
now?
slightly.
It's a bit
Toward the
better.
door.
Good.
Toward the sound
Just
of heavy
relax.
security seals closing. Elsewhere in the palace, investigation teams moved quietly. Footprint scans. Door access logs. Movement reconstructions. Then something unusual appeared. One door. North Guest Wing. Scheduled for renovation. Open for 6 minutes. No badge entry. No maintenance request. No scheduled access. Farron stared at the data. Send a team, he said. Now. Inside the unused suite, dust still covered most surfaces. Except one chair. Recently moved. And one glass. Recently touched. Meanwhile, back in medical isolation, Charlotte finally moved. Not much. Just enough. Her hand tightened around the blanket. And she whispered something so quiet only the nurse heard. Locked. The nurse froze. Doctor, she spoke. The doctor leaned close. Charlotte? What is locked? Charlotte's eyes filled, not with tears. With memory. Door? Outside, Farron straightened slowly. Because now, this wasn't just medical. No. This was a story someone wasn't telling. And he intended to find out why. The door that should never have opened. The word Charlotte whispered didn't echo. It settled. Heavy. Like a stone dropped into still water. Door? The doctor leaned closer, voice soft enough to feel like a blanket. Which door, Charlotte? Her lips trembled slightly. Not fear. Not pain. Memory. Outside the glass, Sergeant Elias Farron watched every micro-movement. He had learned long ago that danger rarely announced itself loudly. Real danger hid in small details. A delayed blink. A delayed breath. A child who chose silence instead of crying. His earpiece clicked. North Guest Suite team entering now. Proceed, Farron said. The unused suite smelled like closed air and renovation dust. Officer Malik moved first, scanning with handheld sensors. Thermal shows residual heat trace from earlier occupancy, he said. How long? His partner asked. Within last 2 hours. That alone was enough to escalate concern. This room was supposed to be empty for weeks. They moved deeper. Nothing looked disturbed. Except the chair. Pulled slightly away from the desk. Facing the door. Like someone had been waiting. Malik crouched beside the glass found on the side table. Still faintly damp inside. Recent, he said. He scanned it carefully. Partial print. Smudged. Intentional or accidental. Impossible to tell yet. Back in the medical suite, Charlotte's breathing changed. Still stable. But faster. The nurse noticed first. She's remembering something, she whispered. The doctor tried again. Charlotte, were you in a room? No answer. But her fingers tightened around the blanket again. Outside, Farron spoke quietly into comms. Pull corridor traffic near North Suite for last 2 hours. Cross-reference with staff movement.
Perfect shot!
Yes, sir. Moments later, data streamed in. Movement logs. Badge pings. Service access timestamps. Then something odd surfaced. One enrichment tutor. Badge showed exit from East Wing at 10:42. But secondary corridor motion sensors detected presence near North Wing at 10:51. 9 minutes unaccounted for. Farron's eyes hardened slightly. Locate tutor immediately. Elsewhere in the palace, security teams found the tutor in a staff lounge. Shaking. Confused. I left early, she insisted. I had a migraine. I signed out. You walked through North Corridor after signing out. No. I didn't. I don't remember that. Meanwhile, Queen Camilla paced inside temporary briefing quarters. This is absurd, she said sharply. No one has told me what happened. The senior advisor answered carefully. Because no one fully knows yet. Camilla stopped pacing. And the guard? Following safeguarding protocol. Her jaw tightened. He is treating this like an external threat. The advisor hesitated. Because sometimes internal threats are harder to detect. Inside medical isolation, Charlotte shifted again. The doctor lowered his voice. Charlotte, was someone with you? A long pause. Then, barely audible. Yes. The nurse swallowed. Someone you know? Charlotte's eyes moved slightly. Not toward them. Toward the glass. Toward the hallway. Toward where Farron stood. The doctor stepped out quietly. She spoke, he told Farron. Farron nodded once. What did she say? She said someone was with her. Farron closed his eyes for 1 second. Then opened them sharper. Then we assume contact. Orders moved quickly after that. All staff scheduled near Charlotte's morning route were isolated for questioning. All visitor logs were frozen. Kitchen supply routes locked. Private service entrances monitored.
Proceed.
In the
Schedule
North
is
Suite,
confirmed.
Officer
We are
Malik
ready.
found something else. Behind a curtain. A small velvet ribbon. Navy blue. Royal uniform accent color. Specifically used in youth ceremonial outfits. Bag and tag, Malik said. But sir, why would this be here? Malik didn't answer. Because he didn't like the question either. Back in the palace security hub, analysts reconstructed Charlotte's path. breakfast chamber, private tutoring hall, garden corridor. Then, 7 minutes missing before medical discovery. 7 minutes inside the palace. Unaccounted. Farron stared at the timeline. 7 minutes was enough. More than enough. He spoke quietly. Expand lockdown radius to include service wing. Sir, that affects. Do it. Across the palace, another set of security seals activated. Now it wasn't just containment. Now it was investigation. Queen Camilla received update notice. Her face went pale for the first time. He's expanding lockdown? Yes, Your Majesty. Without royal council approval? Yes. She sat slowly, because she understood what that meant. If the royal guard believed a child was threatened, protocol outranked politics. Every time. Inside medical isolation, Charlotte's hand moved again. The nurse leaned close. You're safe, she whispered. Charlotte's lips parted slightly. He said, don't tell? The doctor's chest tightened. Who said that, Charlotte? Tears formed in her eyes, but didn't fall. Doorman. Outside, Farron heard through the glass mic. His jaw tightened slightly. Doorman. Someone associated with access. Someone associated with rooms. Someone she connected with doors. His mind moved fast. Maintenance. Service staff. Security clearance holders. Contract workers. Then a new report came through. Sir? North Suite maintenance was reassigned last week. To who? Temporary contractor. Clearance valid but new. Name. Pause. Then. Daniel Hurst. Farron's voice dropped colder. Find him. In the distance, security alarms shifted tone. Not panic. Not emergency. Search. Inside medical isolation, Charlotte finally turned her head slightly. Toward the glass. Toward Farron. For the first time since she arrived. Her eyes focused. Not past him. At him. Like she knew. He was the one who locked the doors. And maybe, the one making sure they stayed locked. And for the first time since the lockdown began, Sergeant Farron allowed himself one silent promise. Whoever caused this silence would not leave this palace unnoticed. The man behind the locked door. The name sat in the air like a warning. Daniel Hurst. Temporary contractor. Maintenance clearance. New assignment. Minimal palace familiarity. Which made him both easy to miss and impossible to ignore. Last location? Farron asked. Security control responded immediately. Service corridor B2. Camera lost visual when he entered tool storage junction. Time stamp. 37 minutes ago. 37 minutes inside a locked palace. Farron didn't like unknown variables. Especially not today. Lock service corridor exits, he ordered. They're already restricted, sir. Not restricted. Locked. Across the palace, another layer of security dropped into place. Staff inside service sectors found doors refusing to open. Access panels blinking amber instead of green. Phones switching to internal emergency network. In medical isolation, Charlotte's breathing had steadied again. But her eyes remained distant. Like she was listening to something inside her memory. The nurse spoke softly. You're safe here. Charlotte blinked once. Then whispered again. Dark? The doctor made a note. Not physical injury language.
Lights ahead.
Memory language.
Proceed with
environmental recall. Outside, Farron moved toward service access stairwell. 2 guards joined him silently. No dramatic rushing. No shouting. Just controlled, quiet movement. Because panic created mistakes. And mistakes created openings. Meanwhile, security teams located Hurst's personnel file. Is 34. Background, general maintenance contractor. Prior clearance, none. Recent hire, 3 weeks ago. But something didn't match. One analyst frowned. Sir, his references check out. But they're very clean. Define clean. No gaps. No inconsistencies. No late payments. No employment conflicts. No social irregularities. Farron's voice lowered. That's not clean. That's manufactured. Inside service junction B2, lights flickered slightly. Tool cabinets lined the walls. Cleaning carts parked neatly. Everything looked normal.
Your
Too
cooperation
normal.
is mandatory.
Guard Patel
Please, I don't
signaled
know.
quietly. Motion. Behind storage racks. Mr. Hurst. Patel called calmly. No answer. They moved closer. Then heard breathing. Fast. Panicked. They found him crouched behind a supply crate. Sweating. Pale. Eyes wide. I didn't do anything, he said immediately. No denial prompt given. Farron watched him carefully. Stand up. Hurst obeyed, shaking. Why were you in North Guest Suite? I was checking vents. No work order exists. I was told verbally. By who? Hurst swallowed hard. I don't remember. Farron didn't react outwardly. But inside, alarm signals rose. Memory gaps. Fear response. Immediate denial. Classic signs of someone overwhelmed or hiding something. Escort him to secure interview room, Farron said. Meanwhile, in medical isolation, Charlotte's fingers moved again. The nurse leaned closer. Charlotte, did the doorman hurt you? Charlotte shook her head weakly. No. The nurse and doctor exchanged looks. The doctor asked gently. Did he scare you? Long pause. Then, yes. Outside, security teams increased corridor monitoring. Not searching anymore. Confirming. Tracing. Reconstructing. In interview room, Hurst sat under soft lighting. Not interrogation lighting. Intentional choice. Farron entered alone. I need you to listen carefully, Farron said calmly. Hurst nodded rapidly. I swear I didn't touch her. I didn't ask that, Farron said. Silence. Why were you in that room? Hurst rubbed his hands together nervously. I was told to check locks. By who? I don't know. Farron watched micro-expressions. Fear. Confusion. Guilt. But not predatory behavior. Did you speak to Princess Charlotte? Hurst hesitated. Then nodded once. Yes. Farron didn't move. What did you say? I told her she shouldn't be there. Farron leaned forward slightly. And then? She asked why. And you said? Hurst's voice cracked. I said, because some doors are not safe to open alone. Farron studied him carefully. Not threatening words, but frightening to a child. Did you raise your voice? No. Did you block her exit? No. Did you follow her? No. I left. Farron sat back slowly. This didn't sound like physical harm. This sounded like fear passed from adult to child. Back in medical isolation, Charlotte whispered again. He knew. The nurse leaned closer. Knew what? Charlotte's eyes filled with tears finally. The door was broken. Outside, forensic team rechecked North Suite door. And found it. Latch mechanism damaged internally.
Right here with you.
Not visible from outside.
Just
But enough
breathe,
to
you're
cause
doing
lock
great.
failure if forced. Meaning, someone had already tampered with it. Before Charlotte ever arrived. Farron received report. His expression hardened. This just changed. If Hurst found broken lock. And warned her. Then he wasn't the threat. He was the messenger. Which meant, someone else created the danger. In interview room, Hurst spoke again quietly. I tried to report it, but my supervisor said not to log it yet. Farron's eyes snapped up. Supervisor name. Hurst hesitated. Then whispered it. And for the first time since lockdown began, Farron felt real anger rise. Not loud. Not visible. But cold. Because the name belonged to someone with long-term palace clearance. Someone trusted. Someone who should have reported damage immediately. Back in medical isolation, Charlotte finally cried. Not loudly. Not dramatically. Just quiet tears sliding down her temples. The nurse squeezed her hand. You're safe. Charlotte whispered one last word before exhaustion took her. Locked. Outside, Farron gave final order for the hour. Expand investigation to internal oversight. Pause. Then. No one is cleared automatically anymore. And across the palace, something shifted. Because this was no longer about a contractor. Or a broken door. Or even a single frightening moment. No. This was about trust. And who had quietly broken it. The truth hidden inside protocol. The palace had always been built on tradition. Structure. Hierarchy. Trust. But trust, Sergeant Farron knew, was not the same thing as safety. And today safety came first. The name Daniel Hurst had whispered still echoed in Farron's mind. Not because it surprised him, but because it confirmed something he feared. The threat wasn't chaos. It was complacency. Bring me full access history for that supervisor, Farron ordered. Security analysts moved fast. Years of clearance logs. Movement patterns. Internal authorization overrides. Then something surfaced. Small. Easy to miss. But dangerous. 3 maintenance delay reports. Marked low priority. All connected to internal guest access locks. Including the North Suite. Farron spoke quietly. Why were these delayed? An analyst answered carefully. Signed off as non-urgent structural aging. By the same supervisor? Yes, sir. Inside medical isolation, Charlotte was sleeping now. Not peaceful sleep, but exhausted sleep. The kind that comes after the body decides it can't hold fear anymore. The nurse sat beside her quietly. Sometimes protection wasn't loud. Sometimes it was just staying. Meanwhile, Queen Camilla stood in a private observation room overlooking the sealed corridor. She watched guards move with precise calm. Watched staff whisper carefully. Watched the palace behave like a fortress instead of a home. Her advisor spoke quietly beside her. The guard is not wrong. She didn't answer. But she didn't disagree either. In the secure interview suite, the supervisor was brought in. Senior Facilities Coordinator, Martin Ellery. 20 years of palace service. Decorated reliability record. Trusted by multiple departments. He sat down calmly. Too calmly. Farron entered. No hostility. No intimidation. Just presence. Mr. Ellery, Farron said evenly. Why were lock repairs delayed in North Suite? Budget prioritization, Ellery replied smoothly. Safety locks are never budget prioritized. Silence. Ellery adjusted his sleeve. We receive hundreds of minor maintenance flags. This was not minor. It was listed as cosmetic latch misalignment. Farron slid the forensic report across the table. Internal tampering. Mechanical stress fracture. Deliberate tool contact. Ellery's confidence flickered. Just slightly. You knew it was damaged, Farron said quietly. Ellery said nothing. You marked it low priority anyway. Ellery inhaled slowly. I followed documentation procedure. Farron leaned forward slightly. And if a child entered that room? Ellery's jaw tightened. That would be unfortunate. The room temperature felt like it dropped 10 degrees. Unfortunate, Farron repeated softly. Not unacceptable? Not dangerous? Not preventable? Ellery finally broke eye contact. Because he had no good answer. Across the palace, internal review orders activated. Maintenance audits. Clearance reviews. Delayed safety requests reopened. This wasn't punishment. This was correction. System correction. Inside medical isolation, Charlotte woke slowly. The nurse smiled gently. You're okay. Charlotte's voice was still fragile. Door fixed. The nurse blinked. Then nodded softly.
It's a lovely day for a
Charlotte
walk.
closed her eyes again.
Yes, it is.
Shoulders relaxing for the first time all day. Outside, Farron received final structural report. North Suite lock fully replaced. Triple verification complete. Access now restricted. He stood in the corridor outside medical isolation, watching through the glass. Not as a guard now. As something quieter. Something more human. The doctor stepped beside him. She'll talk more. When she feels safe enough. Farron nodded. That's all that matters. Hours later, lockdown protocols began easing. Not removed. Reduced. Like storm barriers lowering after wind calmed. Queen Camilla approached Farron once more. No anger now. Just controlled reflection. You made the right call, she said quietly. Farron bowed slightly. I made the safe call. She studied him for a moment. Then nodded once. And walked away. Because even authority understood one thing today. A child's silence was louder than any royal order. In staff quarters, word spread quietly. Not gossip. Not rumor. Lesson. Safety reports matter. Small warnings matter. And sometimes, the difference between routine and danger is one ignored detail. Inside medical isolation, Charlotte finally slept peacefully. The nurse dimmed lights slightly. The doctor signed off her chart. And outside, Sergeant Farron remained at his post. Not because protocol required it. Because protection did. But the story wasn't finished yet. Because now, the palace had to decide something bigger. Not just who made mistakes, but how to make sure no child inside those walls ever felt that silence again. When a palace learns to listen, the palace reopened slowly. Not all at once. Not like nothing had happened. Because something had happened. And everyone inside those walls knew it. Corridors that once carried routine now carried awareness. Staff walked the same paths. Opened the same doors.
Sweetheart.
Followed the same
Thanks, Daddy.
schedules.
Keep
But
going,
something
you're doing
fundamental
great.
had changed. They were paying attention. Sergeant Elias Farron stood in the West Corridor 2 days later. Lockdown officially lifted. Safeguard status reduced to monitoring. But he still reviewed every overnight report personally. Not because he didn't trust the system. Because he knew systems only worked when people respected them. Inside the medical suite, Princess Charlotte sat upright for the first time. A soft blanket around her shoulders. color returning slowly to her face. The nurse smiled. "You look stronger today." Charlotte nodded slightly, then asked quietly, "Door is fixed?" The nurse nodded. "Yes." Triple-checked. Charlotte relaxed into the pillows. That single answer mattered more than medicine. Across the palace, emergency review boards met quietly. Not public meetings. Not blame sessions. Improvement sessions. Maintenance priority classifications were rewritten. Child safety overrides added to every system. Any lock, door, or access failure near child access zones would now trigger automatic review. No delays. No budget flags. No hierarchy approval needed. Because safety didn't need permission anymore. Martin Ellery resigned quietly. No dramatic removal. No public scandal. Just removal from responsibility. And replacement with someone trained under new standards. Because the palace understood something important. Punishment alone doesn't protect people. Better systems do. Meanwhile, Daniel Hurst was cleared of wrongdoing. His warning to Charlotte, though frightening, was found to be protective in intent. He was reassigned to supervised maintenance training. Because sometimes mistakes come from fear. And sometimes fear comes from seeing danger others missed. 3 days later, Charlotte walked slowly through the garden corridor again. Not alone. But not surrounded by chaos either. Just one nurse. And, at a distance, Sergeant Farron. She stopped halfway down the path. Turned. Looked directly at him. He stopped immediately. Never approaching unless invited. Charlotte raised one small hand. Not waving. Just acknowledging. Farron bowed his head slightly. Not royal protocol. Human protocol. Inside the palace, staff noticed small changes. More safety checks. More double confirmations. More willingness to speak up about small issues. Because everyone remembered one thing. Silence had almost hidden a problem. And silence was never protection. That evening, Prince William walked through the medical suite quietly. Charlotte was sitting up, drawing. He sat beside her.
Threat level is escalating.
No speeches. No dramatic questions.
I'm pulling up the alternate
Just
routes.
presence.
Confirmed.
After a while, Charlotte spoke first. "I didn't want to make noise." William looked at her gently. "You never have to be loud to be heard." She thought about that. Then nodded slowly. Outside, Farron received final case closure report. All risk factors resolved. All system changes implemented. Child safety oversight upgraded permanently. He signed it. Then paused. Looking at the final line. Incident trigger. Child nonverbal distress response. He closed the file slowly. Because he knew something most people didn't. Sometimes the strongest signal is when someone stops speaking. Weeks later, the palace felt like home again. But a smarter home. A listening home. Charlotte returned to lessons. Garden walks. Ceremonial training. Normal childhood moments. But one thing stayed different. Every staff member now knew. Something feels wrong. Report it. Something looks small. Check it anyway. If a child goes quiet, stop everything. And listen. One afternoon, Charlotte passed Sergeant Farron in the corridor. This time she spoke clearly. "Thank you." He blinked once. Just once. Then nodded. "You're safe, Your Highness." She smiled. And walked on. And the palace continued standing. Not because it was powerful. Not because it was historic. Not because it was royal. But because, on one quiet day, it chose to listen to the smallest voice inside it.